What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Huddle, presented by the Huddle Chat Sports Network, Danklyfe brand. Let's talk sports and shank it golf brand. Today, we're continuing our fantasy football marathon and discussing the different types of draft strategies that there are. Last episode we came out with was the 0 RB strategy. So the next one we're moving on to is the hero RB strategy. Putting a running back, having him rip open his jersey and expose the Superman logo behind, because we need a hero, baby, and we're taking a running back to do so. Before we get this started into today's coverage about the hero RB strategy, I'd like to thank y'all so much for the mass amount of love, the likes, the comments, the recent subscribers that we've gotten in influx lately. Thank y'all so much. And if you haven't yet and you're new to the channel, please take a second, check out the bottom and make sure if you haven't hit the subscriptions bar or the notifications bell, please hit both, because we're coming out with tons of fantasy football tips, fantasy football draft advice, fantasy football news, fantasy football knowledge, all of that good stuff. The goal is to get that much better, twice as good as the next person in your league, to give you better chances to win and get the advantage on those idiots in your fantasy football league. Now, as always, if you like the content, please smash the like button and let's get done with this intro stuff so we can get right into the hero RB strategy. As always, if you do, now is the time to smoke them if you got them. Fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's get right into the news. So as we discussed in the 0 RB strategy, as we're going to discuss in the next draft strategy video, most draft strategies are going to look at, whether it's the 3 that I'm talking about, whether it's any other popular draft strategy, any main draft strategy you're going to look into is going to focus on this 5-round plan of attack. 5-round plan of attack is going to be something you hear me mention a lot here on the Fantasy Football Huddle. So with the hero RB strategy, what exactly is the hero RB strategy? What it's going to be is, for that first 5 rounds, you're going to take one running back. 0 RB, you're taking no running backs. Hero running back, you're taking one running back and making him your hero running back. The set it and forget it, no doubt about it. Ride this man into fantasy championship land. You're taking that running back, primarily focusing in that first 2 rounds, because that's where the most valuable running backs are going to be at. There's a ton of questions with the running backs in rounds 3 through 5. You're looking at the Jahmyr Gibbs of the world, the Najee Harrises of the world, the Breece Halls of the world, who just got more questionable with Dalvin Cook now signing with the Jets. You're looking at J.K. Dobbins, Dalvin Cook, as I mentioned himself, now Ezekiel Elliott with the Patriots. What are we gonna do with these round 3 to 5 running backs? I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna avoid them like they're the damn plague. We're gonna avoid them like we tried to avoid COVID. We're not gonna bring that up. We don't talk about political problems, I guess, over here. Ideally, with the hero running back strategy, you're going to take that hero running back in the first 2 rounds, and you're going to grab enough wide receivers to fill your starting positions. That's going to be your 2 to 3 wide receiver positions, as well as your flex. Now, if that means you need to take 1 running back and 4 wide receivers, then that's what you got to do. But if you're in a standard league that's just running 2 wide receivers, 1 flex option, the 2 running backs as well, then you can go ahead and take 3 wide receivers in this category, and you might even be able to take a shot on the Travis Kelce's of the world, on the Josh Allen's, the Patrick Mahomes's, the Jalen Hurts's of the world. You're going to be looking at one of those elite quarterbacks or elite tight ends in that range if you have all your starting wide receivers and your flex covered through picking wide receivers in these first few rounds, as well as your hero running back. You're going to be looking, when you do this hero running back strategy, for a workhorse running back. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit more here in just a moment about how we're going to identify those workhorse running backs and what type of running backs we're really going to be looking for. But the real question is, why the hell do I do this hero running back strategy? The most popular strategy right now is going to be zero running back. Why don't I just go absolutely bonkers with that wide receiver role? And I'll tell you why. The reasoning being because knowing that everybody's going into their draft strategy, or the majority of the people, if you're like me and your home league, your most important league, is filled with tons of people. We're not doing a casual home league. Everybody's doing their research. Everybody's watching their videos. Everybody has the same knowledge because we all are doing everything we can to get the leg up on one another. This is no casual home league. And if your home league or your work league or any league that you're in is anything like mine, and we're looking to beat competitive players, we're going to know they're coming into the draft strategy and they're looking to go wide receiver heavy. Or, as I told you when we discussed it in our 6 biggest mistakes to avoid video, if you haven't seen that, I'll drop a link in the description. But in our 6 mistakes to avoid video, we discussed that you don't want to be locked in to one strategy. Maybe you go into your draft with the zero RB strategy and you have the 9th pick and everybody went with the 9 most valuable wide receivers on the list, or the 8 most valuable wide receivers, and Christian McCaffrey's gone. Now you're stuck looking at a room full of the top projected running backs and a couple of valuable steals that you can get in that running back room, and you may have to flip your strategy. However, whatever the case may be, you're gonna be locking in that running back, that hero running back, and he's going to be your savior at the running back position, ensuring that you do not have to hit on as many of those late round flyers. You do not have to hope for as many injuries. You do not have to hope for as much randomness, because you do have that savior at your running back position. And that's why it's called the hero RB. Another reason that you're not going to go with a ton of running backs is because there's much less inherent risk with the wide receivers 11 through 24 than there are with running backs 11 through 24. So many early round running backs tanked last year. I mean, you're looking at Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, A.J. Dillon, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, tons of early round running backs that you drafted in the top 24 that were outside of your top 10 tanked last year, and some of them, DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor, being inside of the top 10. Then you look at the top 24 wide receivers, only about 2 or 3 wide receivers in that top 24 really tanked, dropped more than 10 positions, really disappointed below their ADP. There's so much less inherent risk with the top 24 wide receivers than there are with the top 24 running backs, but you may not be able to lock in those top 7 preferred wide receivers you may have on your list, and you may need to pivot because we want to be flexible and comfortable with different strategies. The hero RB strategy may by default be the strategy you end up going with in your draft, no matter what your strategy was, depending on your draft position, depending on how much research everybody else did this season. And like I said, another reason you're doing it is because you're ensuring that, number one, solid workhorse running back, meaning you do not have to hit on all your lotto tickets late in the draft. When I mean workhorse running back, we're going to try to identify a couple of different things that make somebody a workhorse running back. Ideally, you want them to hit 3, if not all, of these 4 things. First things first, you want them to be running behind a good offensive line. then you either want them in a heavy run scheme offense like Derrick Henry or have heavy involvement in the passing game like Christian McCaffrey. Then you're going to want to look at somebody's projected volume. How much are they projected to get? How much attention are they going to garner in this offense? And lastly, you're going to look at their projected snap count, their snap share in that offense. Are they in a committee? Do they get more than 75% of their carries? Do they sit out for full drives at a time, more than just your typical rest plays? Are they the main mouth that gets fed in that running back, in that offense? Does that offense involve them a lot? With those 4 categories, like I said, you want them to hit 3, if not 4, of all of those categories. And you're going to lock in that workhorse running back and then be able to continue to build a solid foundation of your team while you still avoid that running back dead zone and all of those running backs that have a ton of questions. One of the biggest mistakes you typically see people make with the hero RB strategy is very similar to the zero RB strategy. It's going with that running back very early on, hammering wide receiver in those other 4 rounds, maybe getting that elite quarterback or tight end, but then completely forgetting that they still need to continue to draft wide receivers and try and then finding themselves smack dab in the middle of that running back dead zone right there in round 6, round 7, when there's still a lot of questions, as opposed to taking some extremely valuable wide receivers that they can fit in there at their flex while taking some lotto tickets, some extreme upside players later in the draft at that running back position. With the hero running back strategy, also another tip, if I could give it to you, is you're not necessarily looking to look at both quarterback and tight end in the elite category in those first 5 rounds because, like I said before, you want to be able to fill up enough wide receivers to fill up your starting wide receiver positions as well as your flex position. And even if you're in a league where you're playing 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, you're going to be looking at taking that running back, taking those 3 wide receivers that are going to fill up the 2 wide receivers and that flex position, and you're going to still only have enough space in that first 5 rounds for an elite quarterback or an elite tight end. When it comes to the 2, I'm leaning more towards an elite quarterback because you have more wiggle room when it comes to the tight ends a little bit later in the draft. So I'd put tight end a little bit lower on my priority list than the quarterback when it comes to the hero running back strategy. But either way, you're not looking to draft both an elite quarterback and an elite tight end during the hero running back strategy. But that's going to do it for the hero RB strategy. Like I said, very similar to zero RB. However, you're getting that safety, that security, that savior at the running back position. So you're not banking it all on your lotto tickets later on in the draft. We're going to continue our coverage in the Fantasy Football Marathon, continue our draft strategy coverage. We're going to be talking about the robust running back strategy, which is typically my favorite strategy to go with. And I'll discuss on whether it's going to still be my favorite draft strategy in 2023. In the next episode, we're also going to be talking about some sleepers, some breakout potential players you should be too smart to draft. And we're going to continue getting you ready for your fantasy football draft night, your fantasy football draft, and we're going to help you hoist that trophy this season. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you made it this far and haven't dropped a like, drop a comment, let me know why. And if you just want to just drop a like, that'll also help me out a ton. You don't understand how much it helps. Thank y'all so much. As always, keep your chin up and your attitude all the way down. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out, baby. Thank you.